All right, so we're going to go through Charlie's missed math questions. I don't have my writing tablet with me tonight, but I'm just going to talk conceptually through these things and do what math I can do to show the steps if necessary. But otherwise, I'll just highlight what mistakes may have been made and how to avoid them on future exams. So to keep it short, let's go ahead and just dive right in. First missed question was number 3. You had originally picked B on this one, and I suspect that it's just a simple calculation error. You distributed the negative correctly, it seems, but didn't recognize perhaps that the 4n in the first binomial there on this side of it, this part is supposed to be negative. So because the only way to get negative 2n here is maybe flipping this and being plus 2n. So clearly that must be A. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. So just be careful on how you're doing the distributions there in positive versus negative. Number 11 is the next missed question here. Big old word problem. Try to be as efficient as you can, recognizing is it a system, is it linear, what is the kind of equation that could be applicable here. So we have a purchase price, that's like a y-intercept. Paid $2,000 as down payment, so we reduce that. Got a loan, paid off the loan by making 48 payments of $225. How much was, okay, how much more was her total payment? So if I open up a little calculator here, so the real thing that we want to pay attention, we don't really even care about the down payment yet, but we can do 225 times 48 plus the 2,000, and that gives us that it was 12,800, which should be 2,400 more than she paid. So you had originally picked E on that one, so you calculated correctly the total amount that she pays, but missed the concept here that it was not how much does she pay, it's how much more does she pay. Make sure that you're answering the question being asked, because they do build in traps like that. If it helps to underline, you are able to underline in the test with a pencil. Circle the key question before you begin calculating and know what your target is. Number 12 was the next missed question. I'm suspecting that you just distributed the binomial incorrectly because they're asking for area. You had originally picked H on this. So you did multiply the x terms correctly. You did multiply the constant terms correctly. But remember, when you multiply binomials, you have to FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. So 2x minus 1 times x plus 2 should be 2x squared to get the first terms multiplied. And then 2x times 2 gives us plus 4x. The negative 1 times x gives us minus x, and then minus 2. Combining like terms, you get 2x squared plus 3x, so it should be j. Yeah, just remember to distribute those things correctly, and again, I think that might just be a moving too quickly, careless calculation error kind of thing. 23 is your next mistake. Percent manipulations. Discount price, that was 20% less than 1,000. Paid tax, so it's just a straight up calculation with the percentages. To do percent manipulations, you take the initial value times 1 plus or minus the discount, so R. So here we've got $1,000 times 0.8 times the tax. It's, remember, 1 plus or minus, so it's going to be 1.06. We jam that into a calculator, and that should tell us the total amount that he paid. So 1,000 times 0.08 times 1.06 gives us, oh, not 0.08, pardon me, 1,000, come on, my keyboard is a little janky, times 0.8 1.06. Yeah, there we go, 848. So it should be C for number 23. And indeed it is C. So you'll find this equation in your packet under the percent change information. Study guides here should be in there this week before your exam. All right, so that was number 23. Let's keep chugging along. Oh, I closed your test here. Let me open that back up. So that was number 23. 26 and 7 are next. So 26 is, I think, again, just a calculation error. They say slope of -half. You picked H, which you did correctly. And then clearly we want to plug in the 2 and see which one gives -3. So it's either G or H. You plug in 2 to G, you get -half times 2 is -1, minus 2 is indeed -3. I imagine, again, you mixed up the positive and negative stuff here because you picked H, so you ended up getting -1 plus 4 is +3, and again, lost track that we need the -3 there. Just again, be careful in the calculation. Don't move so quickly that you're losing track of accuracy. 27, which is in the domain. This is the next one you missed. You said B. Domain, remember, is the possible x values. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 6. You picked 1, 2, 3, and 4. So again, probably just moving too quickly, bubbled in the wrong thing. Not sure where that got off the rail on that one. That was 27. 32 is next. Okay, so we're getting into the ones where it might be hard for me to do without my stylus. Ratio is equal to cosine B. B is on that triangle there. If we isolate this triangle here, you can see that that has a height of 12 and a hypotenuse of 15. You could do the Pythagorean theorem to figure out the base, or you could just recognize that it's a 3, 4, 5 triangle multiplied by 3. So the height is a multiple of 4, the hypotenuse is a multiple of 5. 4 times 3 is 12, 5 times 3 is 15. This must be 3 times 3 is 9. So, oh, we don't even care about the lengths. I notice here that they've given us the side names. So doing all this stuff with the length is unnecessary. Ratio of cosine B, that would be EB over AB. And there it is in K. They just flip the letter around. So don't calculate if it's not necessary, I guess. But anyhow, you had originally picked on that one H. AE, that's sine. So you just mixed up sine for cosine. And, you know, just a little bit of review on trig stuff. And again, that is in the study guide. 38. Again, definitions of trig information. A is the amplitude. That's how high the wave gets. As you can see, it goes up to 0.25. 4 here is the period, which is what they're asking about here. The period is 2 pi divided by the coefficient of x. In the packet, you'll see that identified as 2 pi divided by b. This is in the trig section here. There's your review of SOHCAHTOA. Here's the amplitude and period definitions with a sine bx plus c plus d. Do make sure that you know at least the basics of those definitions because they do come up quite frequently. So 2 pi divided by 4 is pi over 2, and so it's f. Just know the definitions. That's oftentimes what the ending questions are all about, is just definitions of things. 40 is the next one you missed. I can see right away that the answer choices are all equations with t equals, so I'm not even going to bother reading the paragraph here. It's just a time-saving technique. You can just jump right in and rearrange this equation for t equals. Multiply the 3 plus n over, subtract s, divide by 3, and you're done. So I know it's going to have a denominator of 3. That narrows it down to either j or k. I know that it's going to have a minus s in it, so still j or k. I'm going to have 3g plus gn, and there's no way that reduces, so it's got to be k. Let's just check it. 40 is k, and indeed it is k. So what did I do there? I recognized that the answer choices were all equations with an equation given in the paragraph rearranged. Nothing they can say in that paragraph will change that fact. So you can just jump to it and get to work on it. And I didn't even bother doing all the calculation. I just articulated what calculations have to happen and kind of reverse engineered based on the answer choices what it narrows down to. I know I need to have a 3 as a denominator because t is going to, like 3t, you divide by 3, and that's the last step you're going to do. So the denominator of 3 makes some sense there. And the first thing I did would be to multiply the 3 plus n over. So that would be 3g plus gn, and I see that that is indeed in k. This is missing the 3g. It doesn't reduce off. That was 40, 42, and 43. Circle question. This is a classic ACT question. How are we doing on time? We're at 12 minutes. Okay, making good time. Two concentric circles. Obviously, they're looking for the area of the shaded region, but I always like to read it just to make sure because they have changed it occasionally. Radius is 10, radius is 6. What is the area of the shaded region? Perfect. So area of the big circle minus the area of the little circle. Area of a circle is pi r squared, so that's 100 pi minus 36 pi. It's j, 64 pi. You had originally picked 42. You had originally picked h. So you found the area of the smaller circle, but failed to recognize that we're looking for the shaded region, not the smaller circle. Just, again, probably moving too quick. I bet you could have gotten that one if you had read more carefully or had been less focused on moving quickly. Moving quickly will happen if you answer the question carefully and read it carefully. You don't have to be zip, 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 zip. Don't have to do it that way. 43. Remember that earlier question we did with multiplying the binomial out with the area? This guy here, where is it? Number 12, where we had to FOIL. Number 43 here is going to be the same concept. 1 plus 2i squared is going to be 1 plus 2i times 1 plus 2i. So we got to FOIL that out. First, the first is 1. 1 times 2i is 2i. So 1 plus 2i plus 2i again plus 4i squared. I squared, as the definition here would imply, is negative 1. So that actually would be 1 plus adding the two i's together, you get 4i minus 4, because 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And so we get negative 3 plus 4i, and that should be our answer. And that indeed is A. So 43 should be A. 43A. Yeah. The next one missed 45. Greatest monomial factor. So just like in the English, look for the differences in the answer choices and find the easiest thing to find. Whenever you're factoring something or doing a binomial expansion, that type of thing, once I found that 4i, I could have eliminated it down to either A or C. And then it would just be a matter of getting that coefficient, that constant term, rather, the real term, expressed correctly. Here we can do the same kind of thing. Is the greatest monomial factor 16 or 240? Well, 240 is bigger than those numbers. Factors are smaller, right? They're the numbers that are divisible into 80 and 48. So it's either clearly A, B, or C. D and E might be trying to trap people who are thinking of least common multiple. Least common multiple. We're looking for greatest common factor. Don't mix that up. Yeah, and it looks like that's what you did. You picked K or E here, and probably picked the least common multiple. So it's either 16. So it's got to be 16. We don't have to calculate that out. Boom, done. Now the greatest common factor for the x terms. Clearly x squared is the biggest x term here for either one, so it has to be A. No doubt about it. X squared is the largest value of x present in both terms, so it's got to be a. You don't even have to check the y, but just for thoroughness, you can see that y to the first is present in the first term, but we have y squared in the second term, so y to the first is the greatest factor for the y terms. But anyhow, it must be a. That was 45. 46 is next. I see the answer choices have x coordinates of either 10 or 12, y coordinates of 3 and some change. So let's see what they're asking. What are the coordinates of this position? I'm skipping all the data given up here because I don't know what's relevant yet. So always start from here and jump to the end of the word problems. So what are the coordinates of what position? They have B, C, D, and E have the same mass. B, C, D, and E have the same mass. Average of the x's and average of the y's is the center of mass. Great. So the average of the x's and the average of the y's. B and C have 11 for the x's. D and E have 13. So the average of 11 and 13 is 12. So it's J or K. So it's either 3 1/3 or 3 3/4. Great. So now I take the average of 2, 3, and 5, and 5. That's pretty easy math. 15 over 4. 4 goes into 15 3 times with 3 left over, so it's K. Heck, I could probably have picked it once I knew that the denominator was 4, because there's no way that's going to end up reducing to a third. So it has to be K with 3/4 on there. I'm not sure you could see that. Oh yeah, you could see that. Very good. That was 46. 49 is your next missed question. We're looking for, I can see right away this capital No. No value of y such that xy is on the graph. So what values of x makes it so that there's no result? Basically, this is a fancy way of saying when is this function undefined? When a function is undefined, that means that the x or there is no solution, right? And with a fraction like this, remember when a function is undefined, that means that its denominator is 0. So where does the denominator equal 0? Well, x plus 3 gives us an x of -3. X plus 2 is -2. X minus 2 is +2. Whatever makes those things equal to 0 are our zeros for the denominator. You just set all the factors equal to 0 and find for x, just like factoring a polynomial. And those are the points where the coordinates of x that would make the overall function undefined. So it must be a. -3, -2, and 2. Yeah, 49 is indeed a. Good. 53 and 55 are next. Okay, so I've pulled up the equation for the ellipse because, of course, I'm not going to be able to type it out, but it's easily Googleable because that's all I did here. And you can see that we have a simple version of it here. I'm going to try to get the true equation. Here we go. Yeah, this is just a simple version. This is the true equation here that you're going to want to know. X minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. The equation of a circle is very much the same as this. Let's pull it up in the packet again, because it should be in our study guide. I don't know why I didn't think to pull this up first. Equation of a circle. Here we go. So the equation of a circle is right there. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That's when you have a constant radius in the horizontal and vertical dimensions. But when your radius in the horizontal and vertical is different, notice that we divide by the radius. That's where the 1 comes from. And then we separate it and we say A is the horizontal and B is the vertical radius. So in this example given in here, they've got a horizontal radius and a vertical radius. And you'll notice that the bigger radius indicates which one is major and which one's minor. But anyway, for our purposes, none of that matters. Let's go ahead and take a look at this question here. We're going to want to create the equation of this line, which I'm not going to be able to easily do without my stylus here, but I'll do the best I can. Let's go ahead and open up a whiteboard. Drag that off just in case. Okay. So we've got a center at 0, 0, which makes this really easy because if the center is at 0, 0, h and k in that equation are 0 and 0. So we've just got x squared divided by the horizontal radius squared is 25 plus, I'll wrap that in parentheses, plus y squared divided by the vertical radius squared, which is 9, equals 1. So that essentially is our equation of this ellipse. They've given us an x-coordinate of 3, so we can plug that in rather easily and calculate for the missing coordinates a and b. So plugging in 3, we get 9 over 25 plus y squared over 9 equals 1. If you solve that through, you should get a positive value of y and a negative value of y. And they're not asking for that value, but what they are asking for is the distance between those coordinates. So you had originally picked, sorry, I need to refresh the page. For 53, you had originally picked B, 3. So that probably was just a guess, is my speculation there. So if we actually calculate that out, 9 over 1 minus 9 over 25 is, of course, 14 over, wait, what is it? 25 minus 9, 16 over 25. Man, I wish I had my stylus. Yeah, this would be so much easier. So subtracting that over, you get 16 over 25. You could square root at that point. You get 4 over 5, and that denominator becomes 3, so that's 12 over 5. Multiply it by 2 to get the distance. That becomes 24 over 5, and whatever that is should be our answer. 4.8, so it should be D. 53 is indeed D. Great. So equation of an ellipse, very similar to the equation of a circle, and then it's just plugging and chugging from there. 58 and 59 are the last ones you had missed. How are we doing on time? At 25 minutes, great. X and A are positive rational numbers such that that and that. So I noticed that the exponents are the first one is a factor of the other one. So x to the 2a, x to the 6a. If I multiply the first one by 3, I can get to 6a, right? So to multiply exponents, we just have an exponent raised to an exponent, right? Again, to the packet here, there's a table of exponent rules right here. If you have an exponent raised to an exponent raised to an exponent, a to the b times 2 raised to the power of n is equal to a to the b times n. Another quick save. And back to the test here. So to get that x to the 2a to x to the 6a, then I have to cube both sides of that equation. So x to the power of 2a would get cubed. And whatever you do to one side has to happen to the other. So that would equal 3 cubed, which is, of course, 27. So x to the 6a, which this would reduce to, because exponent raised to an exponent becomes multiplication. That becomes x to the 6a, and that would equal 27. So that must be k. And then finally, your last missed question was number 59. And let's see what they're asking here. Always jump to the end of the paragraph. What is the y-intercept of line S? All right, so we know our target. Slope of line Q is 1. So they're giving us some slopes. They give us that they all have an x-intercept of 4. So that's like a coordinate point. We have some slopes. They say slope of S is the average of those two. So let's go ahead and calculate the slope of line S. If we got 1 and 2 over 3, 1 can be written as 3 over 3. So that's 5 over 6 if you take the average of the two. So that's the slope of line S. S equals 5 over 6 x plus, we don't know the y-intercept, that's what we're solving for, right? But we do know a coordinate point. We know negative 4 is 0, so let's go ahead and plug it in. 0 equals 5 over 6 times negative 4 plus b. 5 times 4 is 20, and so negative 20 over 6 plus b equals 0, so bringing that over, you get positive 20 over 6 equals, oh, that's funny, that's calculating it for me, equals b. I didn't know that would do that. 20 over 6 equals, funny, 3.3 1/3. But it reduces to 10/3. Yeah, you can see that easily, that reduces to 10/3, and therefore it must be D. Okay, and that was the last one that you'd missed. Lots to cover, which is part of the reason that I wanted to do it in this video format instead of just waiting until when we see you again. Do go through this thoroughly, take notes, go back through it. I'm sending you a copy of this test so that you can go through not only these missed questions, but any others from the reading and writing or the reading and science that you'd missed. Come ready on Thursday if you have any questions. If you're not Charlie and you learned anything today, go ahead and put a comment in the chat or give me a thumbs up. I probably won't share this publicly until I make sure that Charlie's full name is not exposed, and I'll edit out any blips. But anyway, like this one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.